Okay, so welcome back to this channel. So in our previous video we have handled our product details page, and now in this video we will implement this search, filter and pagination on our backend API. Okay, and then in our next video we will implement also the search, filter and pagination on the front end. So I simply go back to my VS Code, and here in the backend I create a new folder with the name utils, and in the utils I create a new file with the name API filters.js, and in here I will simply create a class with the name API filters. Okay, in that I will create the constructor. So in the constructor I will have the query and then the query string. Okay, and I will explain that in a minute. I will set here this dot query is going to be query, and this dot query string is going to be the query string that we will pass in the constructor. Okay, and if I simply save this one, and also let's create here a function with the name search. Okay, so now in this function we will write our code to search our products, and before that I simply go to my controllers. In the product controller I will simply type here const API filters is going to be await. I will call here API filters, create a new object of this class. Okay, and now we know that in the constructor we have to pass two things. First of all, the query, and then the query string. So as for the query I will type here the product. You can also type here product only, but I will type here product.find. Okay, so basically in here we have to pass the our model, so we will call that query here. Okay, and then I will pass in here the query string that is going to be request dot query, because we know that we have to pass our filters in the query. Like I will simply add here like category is going to be laptop, like this. So this is the query. Okay, so I will simply pass in here my product model and then the request.query in the API filters constructor. Okay, and now we have to first of all search the product by the keyword. So in the search method I will simply type here const keyword is going to be this dot query string. We know that this is the request.query. We will get the keyword from the query, and we check that if the keyword exists, then we will write our code. Otherwise we will pass the empty object. And if the keyword is present in the query, then we will simply have to search with the name, and in the name I will simply type first of all the regex. So regex, that is going to be this dot query dot keyword, and then I will also pass here options, that is going to be I, which means that this search is case insensitive. Okay, again we will simply check that if the query contains the keyword, then we will simply have to search in the name of the product. Okay, so in the name of the product I will simply use here regex, because I don't want to exactly match the keyword or exactly match the name of the product. I want it to search inside the name of the product. So that's why I will use here regex, pass in here the keyword that user has passed in the query. Then I will pass here options, and the option I will pass here I. This means that this search is case insensitive. Like if even if user pass all the characters uppercase, it doesn't really matter here. Okay, so this will make that case insensitive. Now we have here our keyword. I will also log here console dot log the keyword. Okay, and now we will type here this dot query, that is this one, is going to be this dot query dot find. Now in the find I will simply spread here dot 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 keyword. Okay, and then I will simply return here this. Okay, so we will set the query, we will call our find function. We know that find returns an array of all the products, so in that we will simply check that if any product contains this keyword, we will simply find that, and then we will simply store that in the this dot query. Then we will return this from here, and now we have to use this search. So simply save it from here, go to the product controllers, and then here I will simply call dot search. Okay, so now I have called this search method on this API filter, and then we have to execute the query because we are simply returning from here this. So what I do is I will simply type here const or I will simply remove this from here. I call it const products is going to be await, then API filters dot query. Simply say this one because we know that in here we are simply returning this dot query, which is this one. Okay, that is basically the product dot find. In this case, that is product dot find with this keyword. We will simply return this from here, and then from there we can access that query here. Now we will execute that query and it will give back our products. Okay, I simply save this one. Now let's go back for a postman and try it. I type here first of all keyword. For example, I type here like apple, and if I click here search, oops, we have to pass in here here in the get request basically. So I type here keyword, that is going to be apple, and if I click here send, so API filters is not defined, and I think so we haven't imported that, so I will import here API filters from we also have to export here, so export default the API filters. Okay, so that is going to be API filters from utils slash API filters. So now if I simply save it, go back and click here send, you can see that again we have the error that constructor API cannot be invoked without new, and I think so we have to type here new instead of await. Simply save this one, and now if I go back and click here send, we again have this regex has to be string, and you can see that here we are getting the name but the regex is undefined, and the reason is that we have to pass in here this dot query string dot keyword basically. Simply save this one, and now if I go back, click here send, you can see that we get here empty array because we haven't any product with the keyword apple. If I go back, you can see that here this is the result of the keyword. So the keyword contains first of all the name field, regex is going to be apple, and the option is going to be I. Okay, we know that we have a microphone with the name Shure. This one, if I type here Shure and click here send, you can see that we get here a one product only that contains the Shure in that. In the same way, if I go back and just type here desktop and click here send, you can see that now we get the desktop product here. So this means our search is working properly. Now let's first of all implement the filters. Okay, if I want to filter out the products with the ratings, with the price, with the category, we have to also apply that. And for that I simply go back to my postman, VS Code. Here I will remove this, and we have to define another function that is called filter. Okay, in that we will handle all that code. So first of all, here I will type const query copy. I will create a copy of this query, and I will create an object and spread this dot query string, and remember that this dot query string is the request dot query. Okay, and that is going to be copy. And now we have to first of all remove all the fields from the query, because we know that we don't have any field with the name page or keyword, because these are reserved in this case, because keyword will only be used for searching and page will only going to be used for the pagination. Okay, so for that we have to make sure that we remove this page and this keyword from the query, because we don't want to filter out the products based on this keyword. Okay, so what I do is I simply type here const remove fields, and I will add here an array that contains the keyword, and then the second that is going to be page. That will handle in a minute for the pagination. Now we have to remove these two fields from the request query. So what did I simply type here remove fields dot for each element I will simply delete from the query copy that element. So query copy, I will remove that element. Okay, so we check that if this query copy contains these two fields, then we will simply delete that, and now we have the query copy without these two fields. Okay, and now we have to filter out the result. So for that I will simply type here this dot query is going to be this dot query dot find. Now in the find we will simply pass in here the query copy like this. Then I will simply return from here this, and now if I simply go back and call here dot filter like this, simply save it, and now if I go back and for example if I type here like category is going to be laptops like this, if I click on send, you can see that here we are getting here the product with the laptops category. Okay, if I type here electronics, click on send, now this has category electronics, and also this product also have category electronics. Now this is working smoothly, but we have one issue that if user want to search the products based on the price, like user want to get only products between $100 and $500, so you have to also apply that filter if user want to get products within specific range of price, or user want to get only products that rating are greater than 4 or 4 or 3. Okay, so in that case we also have to apply that filters, and for that I have actually used Chat GPT to generate that code. Okay, so I will share that also, but let me show you first of all. If I want to get the products that has price minimum or maximum of 100, so for that I simply type here that price LTE, or LT mean less than, LTE mean less than equal to. Okay, if I type here 100, now I only want to get the products that has price less than or equal to 100. If I click here, and before that I will simply log here console.log the query copy, save it. Now if I click here send, and now if I go back, you can see that here we get here our filter that contains price, then LTE, then 100. So this means that we have to get all the products that has price less than 100. Now when we use Express framework with the node, we just have to add the dollar sign, and rest of the work is done by Express. But in the case of Next.js, we have to manually handle all the code. Okay, so now we get the filter in this form, but we have to transform this input into a specific output. Okay, let me show you here. I want to get here an object. For example, I want to filter out the products based on the price, and in that I will simply type here price is going to be an object that contains GTE value, for example 100, and it can also contain LTE, that is going to be like 1000. Okay, so I have to transform this into this output. Okay, so for that I have intentionally used Chat GPT, and it has actually given me the entire code for this. So let me show you that what Chat GPT has given me, and now we have transformed this input into this output. Okay, so first of all, you have to create two variables. One is output, that is going to be an empty object, and then a prop variable that is going to be an empty string at the start. Okay, so this is what Chat GPT has given me. Okay, so first of all these two fields, and now we have to check that for each basically filter, because you can also pass here like two different filters like this, LTE then GTE like this. If I click on send, go back, you can see that here we have two different filters here. One is for less than and one is for greater than. Okay, and that is I think so greater than, like this here. Okay, so for that we have to use a loop. So I simply type here for key in query copy, I have to loop through all the query copy. For example, in this case we have 2, so it will loop through 2 times, and then I simply check that if key dot match, I will match here, and I will type here regular expression like this. Okay, and /b. In that I simply check that if it contains GT or GTE, LT or LTE. Okay, I will type here not. Okay, so if specific filter doesn't contain GTE, LTE or LTGT, then we have to simply use this part. We just have to filter out it. So for that I simply type here output key is equal to query copy, and I will pass in here the key. Okay, and before that actually let me log here the key. Simply save it. I click here send and I go back. You can see that the key is the price LTE, which is this one, and second time the key is going to be this. So we'll check that if that key doesn't contain LTE or GTE, this means that we simply have to pass the normal filter. So for that I will simply type here output, and the output I will set the key. The key is going to be this, and the value is going to be a query copy, and pass in here the key. Okay, if I log here the output send, if I go back you can see that let me log here the output, and if I click here send and go back you can see that here the output contains empty object because this contains GTE and LTE. If I remove this and select this category, click on send, now if I go back you can see that here in the output we have the category and then the value of the category. Okay, so this is what I mean. We simply check that if filter doesn't contain these filters GTE, LTE, then we will simply put that filter as it is. Okay, so in the output we will set the key, which is category, then we will set the value, and the value is going to be query copy of key, that is going to be electronics. Okay, so it will set that here. But if that filter contains GTE and these operators, these Mongo operators, then we have to transform the input or the filter. And so for the else I have to write the code. Alright, so else what I do is I'll simply type here prop is going to be key dot split. Remember that this code is given by Chat GPT. So key dot split, I will split from this bracket, okay, and get the first part. Okay, so I log here console.log prop, that is going to be this, and also I remove this query copy just to show you. If I go back and now if I click on send, if I go back you can see that here the prop is the price. Okay, so it will split this key from this bracket, starting bracket, and then get only this part, which is the price or the rating, whatever the name of the field that is. So remember that this prop is going to contain that part, that the name of the field. Okay, so this is the prop. Okay, and then we will check the operator. So let operator, the operator is this GTE, LT or LTE. So I will get the operator. So for to get the operator I will simply type here key dot match, and remember that the key is this part. Okay, so we have to get this LTE from this key. Okay, so I will use here error expression, which I just copy from here just to save time, which is this one, and now it will match with this pattern and give us back the array. Okay, so we will get only the first part. Okay, so if I log here the operator, and if I copy that and put that here, and if I click on send, if I go back you can see that we get here operator, which is LTE. Okay, so now we have our prop, which is the name of the field. We now have the operator. Now to add in the output I will simply type here if not output dot output, and pass in here the prop. So we will check that if this prop is not present in this output field, then we will simply make here um, output we will set to prop an empty object like this. Okay, and then output we will use here prop. Remember that prop is the name of the field, so output prop. And now we know that we have to add the operator also, so I will use here an array, add here backticks dollar dollar, and then the operator that is going to be this operator, that is going to be query copy, pass in here the key. Okay, now I simply save this one, and now let's see what we get back in the output. If I go back, click here send, go back, you can see that here in the output we get back here our correct result. We have this price, then the bracket contains the operator that is $LTE, and then the value that is 100. Okay, so this means that our output is correct. I know that this is a little bit confusing, but this is what Chat GPT has given me, so I just want to share that experience with you. Okay, so I hope that you understand. I remove all the console logs from here. Now I simply have to pass this output in the find. So I copy that from here and put that here like this. Simply save it. And now if I go back and if I type here, click here send, you can see that we get back all the products that has price less than 100. So this is less than 100. We only have one product with the price less than 100. In the same way, if I type here 200, click on send, so this is less than 200, this is also less than 200, this is also less than 200, and this one also. So in this way our filters are working properly. I hope that you understand. So now let's handle our last part, which is the pagination. And for the pagination I simply go back, I remove this from here, simply save it, create here a new function that is pagination. Okay, in the pagination we have to first of all get the page number from the postman. For example, user pass here like page, oops, here page is going to be 2 or page is going to be 3, so we have to get this page from the query. So I go back, I simply type here const current page is equal to number, because we will get the result from the query in form of string, so I will wrap it inside numbers. So query string dot page. So for example, if user doesn't pass any page in the query, then by default the page number is going to be 1. So this is our page number, and now we have to calculate the skip, that how many results we want to skip if user want to go to page number 2. Okay, if we have 5 results per page and user want to go to page number 2, this means that we have to skip first 5 results and display result from 6 to 10. Okay, so we have to calculate that, and for that I simply type here const skip is going to be a res per page, and we will get the res per page from the pagination function that will pass from the controller. Res per page multiply by current page minus 1. Okay, for example, we want to go to page number 2, so this is going to be 2, so 2 minus 1, that is going to be 1. So 1 multiplied by 5, that is going to be 5, so it will skip first 5 results and go to the page number 2 with the results 6 to 10. Okay, and then we have to simply pass in here this dot query, that is going to be this dot query, and we have to use here dot limit. Okay, and in the limit we will pass in here res per page, that how many results we want to display. So we'll use limit and pass in here res per page, and dot skip we will pass in here the skip that we have calculated. Okay, and then we will simply return from here this. Simply save it. Now we have to call this pagination function, so I go back, and now first of all I type here const res per page, that is going to be, for example, 4 or 3. Okay, then I will get here products count, because we need that on the front end, so that is going to be await product dot count documents, that will give us total number of documents in the database, so we need that on the front end as well. Okay, and now we have to call the pagination, so I simply type here let products is going to be this. Okay, and then we will get here filtered products count, that is going to be products dot length, and then we will simply um, use this API filters dot pagination and pass in here the res per page, and then okay, and then this is going to be API filters dot query dot clone. Okay, so now let me explain that. First of all, we need to first of all set the results per page, that is going to be 3, and then we have to get the total number of products in database because we need that on the front end to apply the pagination. Okay, so we will also get that by using product.count documents, and then we have applied the search and the filters, and then we will get the count of those products because we also need that on the front end. Okay, and I will also explain that on the front end at why we need these product counts and this product filter counts. Okay, and then we have simply type here API filters dot query. Okay, that will we will execute the query and get back here our products. Now we will save that product's length in the filtered product counts because now we have applied the search and the filter on these basically products. So now we'll get the filter products count that will also need on the front end, and then we will apply the pagination. So I will use this API feature filters.pagination, pass in here the results per page, and then I will simply execute that query again. And now we have to use here clone, otherwise it will throw the error. So this clone is the Mongoose function. Okay, so you have to use that if you want to execute a query more than once. We have to use here clone, and then we will pass in here the products. Okay, and the products count. Okay, products count, and then we will pass in here the results per page. We also need that on the front end, and then we have to pass in here the filtered product counts. Okay, simply save this one, and now if I go back and if I click here send, you can see that we get here total we have 7 products in our database. We have 3 results per page. Filter products count is also going to be 7 because we haven't applied any filter. So you can see that on the front page we have this 1, 2 and this 3 product. Okay, and if I apply here any filter like this, click on send, now you can see that we have total number of products 7 and the filtered products are only 2 because we now have only 2 products with this category. Okay, so we need that filter products count on the front end. I hope that you understand. If you have any question related to this video, you can post that in the comment section. I will definitely reply there. I know that this part is a bit confusing, this filter part, but I want to show you the experience of Chat GPT. Okay, and you can also get the source code of this video in the description of this video. Again, if you have any question, make sure to post that in the comment section. I will reply there. I will see you in the next lecture.